The desk is clean. Too clean. A blank page lies under the lamp. The pen is aligned. The margins are measured. The air in the room feels tight, as if even dust hesitates to move without permission. You sit there, waiting for the right sentence to arrive. It does not. You tell yourself you are refining, preparing, perfecting. But nothing begins. The silence stretches. The page remains untouched. And beneath the stillness, something else breathes. Not laziness. Not confusion. Fear. You call it perfectionism because that sounds disciplined, noble, controlled. But look closely at the moment before you start. Notice the hesitation. Notice the pressure to make it flawless. Notice how often you delay action until conditions feel ideal. This is not about standards. It is about power. There were once apprentices in stone workshops who spent years tracing lines on scraps of marble before touching a cathedral wall. They were told to wait, to observe, to practice invisibly. Many did. A few never stepped forward. They remained in preparation until their hands grew stiff. The master never stopped them. Preparation can become sanctuary. You believe you are avoiding failure. In truth, you may be avoiding magnitude. Carl Jung understood this fracture in the human psyche. He observed that people do not fear weakness as much as they fear strength. Weakness can be forgiven. Strength demands responsibility. Weakness can be pitted. Strength must be carried. To possess real ability is to stand exposed. If you are average, the world does not demand much. If you are powerful, expectation gathers. Perfectionism disguises retreat. It tells you that you are waiting for excellence, when in reality you are waiting for safety. Safety from what? From visibility. From judgment. From the irreversible fact that once you step forward, you cannot pretend you were incapable. History is filled with figures who hid their own capacity. Not because they lacked talent. Because they sensed the weight of what it would mean to use it. There were scholars who concealed manuscripts. Warriors who delayed command. Leaders who deferred to counsels weaker than themselves. Each cloaked hesitation in virtue. Patience. Humility. Caution. But beneath those words often lived something quieter. If I fully step into this, everything changes. Perfectionism is not merely a personality trait. It is a psychological defense. It protects you from confronting your own potential. If you never release the work, it can never be judged. If you never attempt the risk, it can never reveal your reach. If you never declare your voice, you can always claim you might have been extraordinary. Unrealized power remains romantic. Expressed power becomes accountable. There is comfort in the unfinished. The unfinished holds possibility without consequence. In archives of abandoned drafts and unpublished letters, you see this pattern repeated. Pages rewritten dozens of times. Speeches never delivered. Proposals perfected into silence. Entire lifetimes spent refining what was never shared. The tragedy is not failure. It is containment. Jung wrote of the shadow. Not only the darkness of cruelty and resentment, but the shadow of greatness. The parts of you that frighten you because they demand expansion. To be powerful means you will disrupt equilibrium. You will unsettle relationships built on your smallness. You will outgrow rooms that once contained you. That is not comfortable. So you remain precise. Controlled. Unfinished. You polish details while the central act remains untouched. Look at the pattern. You delay launching the project because one section is not perfect. You avoid speaking because the phrasing is not exact. You postpone decisions because clarity is incomplete. You call it high standards. But standards do not paralyze. Fear does. There is a moment before every decisive act. A pause. In that pause, you feel the expansion ahead of you. It is vast. It demands growth. It demands risk. It demands exposure. And so you shrink the moment. You tell yourself you will begin tomorrow. After one more edit. After one more course. After one more sign. Perfectionism offers endless preparation. Power requires commitment. In older systems of control, individuals were kept small by force. Their capacity was suppressed by law. Today, many suppress themselves without coercion. The system does not need to forbid your expansion if you voluntarily remain unfinished. It benefits from your hesitation. A person afraid of their own power is easy to manage. They will never claim space fully. They will never challenge structures decisively. They will remain impressive in theory and harmless in action. That is not insult. It is observation. You fear the consequences of being seen at full capacity. If you fail publicly, the myth dissolves. If you succeed, the responsibility grows. Perfectionism protects you from both outcomes. Consider the cathedral apprentice again. The day he finally carved stone, the mistake would be permanent. Marble does not forgive easily. The mark remains. So long as he practiced on scraps, no record existed. No signature marked the wall. To create is to leave trace. Trace invites scrutiny. Scrutiny awakens judgment. Judgment activates ancient fears of exile and rejection. The human nervous system remembers what it meant to be cast out. So you refine. You delay. You hesitate. You convince yourself that one more adjustment will eliminate risk. It will not. There is no perfect entry into your own magnitude. There is only entry. Jung warned that what you resist persists. If you suppress your strength, it does not disappear. It distorts. It leaks into frustration. Into envy of those who act boldly. Into criticism disguised as discernment. You become skilled at evaluating others. Less skilled at stepping forward yourself. The mind is clever. It constructs narratives that protect comfort. You tell yourself that humility demands invisibility. That wisdom demands silence. That excellence demands endless revision. But true humility is not self-erasure. It is accurate proportion. If you are capable of more and choose less out of fear, that is not virtue. It is concealment. Look closely at your patterns. Where do you hesitate most? Where does the standard rise impossibly high? Where do you set conditions no one else must meet? Those are the edges of your power. The closer you approach genuine expansion, the louder the demand for perfection becomes. Perfectionism intensifies near breakthrough. Because breakthrough changes identity. If you complete the work, you are no longer someone preparing. You are someone who has acted. That new identity cannot hide in potential. It must live in reality. Reality includes critique. Reality includes consequence. Reality includes growth beyond your current comfort. In older chronicles, there are stories of heirs who refused crowns. Not because they lacked lineage. Because they feared rule. Power isolates. Power demands decision. Power removes plausible deniability. So they delayed. They deferred. They claimed unworthiness. Unworthiness can feel safer than authority. If you believe you are not enough, you are spared the responsibility of being more. Perfectionism often masks that belief. You tell yourself that if it cannot be flawless, it is not worth presenting. Beneath that logic is a fear that if it is presented and found lacking, your image of competence will collapse. So you preserve the image by never testing it. You remain powerful in imagination. But power unused corrodes. It becomes restlessness. It becomes dissatisfaction. It becomes quiet resentment toward a life that feels smaller than it should. There is a turning point. It rarely looks dramatic. It looks like beginning before you feel ready. It looks like releasing work that is strong, not immaculate. It looks like speaking with clarity, not rehearsed perfection. In that moment, you confront the fear directly. You do not silence it. You move with the present. A writer once kept a manuscript locked for years. Each time he read it, he saw flaws. He adjusted sentences, rewrote paragraphs, revised structure. The story grew tighter. But it never left the drawer. One evening, after yet another revision, he realized something unsettling. The manuscript was no longer improving. It was shrinking. Its raw force had been polished into caution. He paused. He understood that the flaw he feared was not in the work. It was in his willingness to stand behind it. He mailed it. Criticism arrived. Praise arrived. Indifference arrived. But something else arrived too. Relief. The energy once consumed by guarding potential was now free to create again. Perfectionism freezes power in anticipation. Action releases it into movement. This does not mean recklessness. It means proportion. Excellence matters. Discipline matters. Craft matters. But perfection as a shield is different from excellence as devotion. One hides. The other builds. When you operate from fear of your own magnitude, you unconsciously maintain structures that rely on your smallness. You remain the reliable subordinate. The thoughtful advisor who never claims leadership. The talented contributor who never demands center stage. Others adjust accordingly. They trust that you will not exceed the invisible ceiling you have placed above yourself. The first time you step beyond it, equilibrium shifts. Some will resist. Not because they hate you. Because they are accustomed to your restraint. Your growth destabilizes familiarity. This is why fear intensifies before expansion. It anticipates disruption. Jung believed individuation required integrating both shadow and light. Not only confronting darkness but also accepting brilliance. Brilliance carries responsibility. If you can see clearly, you cannot feign blindness. If you can act decisively, you cannot claim helplessness. If you can influence, you cannot deny impact. Perfectionism allows you to delay that accountability. It whispers that more preparation is needed. Those conditions are not ideal. That timing is wrong. There will always be another condition. There will never be a flawless beginning. You are not a perfectionist. You are standing at the edge of your own power. And the edge feels high. Look at the blank page again. Look at the unlaunched idea. Look at the deferred conversation. Ask yourself what would happen if you acted imperfectly but decisively. What shifts? Who reacts? What identity dissolves? That is the threshold. History remembers those who cross thresholds, not those who refine them endlessly. The apprentice who finally carved it. The clerk who refused to alter the truth. The heir who accepted the crown despite fear. They were not perfect. They were willing. When you accept that your fear is not of failure but of capacity, something clarifies. You stop negotiating with impossibly high standards. You start negotiating with courage. Courage does not eliminate fear. It proceeds anyway. There will be marks in the marble. There will be sentences that could be sharper. There will be decisions that reveal your humanity. That is not weakness. That is evidence of presence. Power unused is a quiet form of self-betrayal. Power expressed imperfectly is growth. The room is still quiet. The page is still blank. The lamp is still steady. The difference is you. You no longer wait for flawlessness. You begin.